Welcome back at C-squared. In this lesson we will look to what is called the slope-intercept form of a linear equation, which you see it right here. And you notice I have here four examples of four linear equation. All of them are in this form y equals mx plus b, the slope-intercept form, where m, which is the number next to the variable, is the slope, and b, which is the number that has no x, is the y-intercept. The good thing about this slope-intercept form, it can be used for graphing equation, for identifying equation if you need it. Why? Because on the graphical representation, this is the y-intercept, and the slope, if you remember, is rise over run. So you can go something like this and get a second point and sketch the line. In fact, you're gonna see this in my next couple example. Like in this one, write an equation in the slope-intercept form for the line with a slope of 2/3 and the y-intercept of -1. So the slope is 2/3, and the y-intercept, which is b, is -1. Of course, you may want to know that the y-intercept is this point. In this case, I'm going to start with this b equals -1. And the slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And in this form, I'm going to replace m with 2/3, 2/3, and b with -1. The only thing I'm going to do here is simplify the last part of this expression, and I have y equals 2/3x minus 1. This is the equation of the line that has a slope of 2/3 and an y-intercept of -1. Now let's graph it, and the first thing you want to do is to go to this y-intercept, 0, -1. That means I'm going to go 1 down, and then I have to use this slope of 2/3. If you remember, the slope is nothing else than rise over run. So you want to use these two, which is the rise. So from this point, you're going to go 2 up, the rise of 2, and then the run of 3. That means you're going to have to go right 3. 1, 2, 3. And you have the second point, you have the line. Another way to approach is to do a rise of -2, going 2 down, and the run of -3. And you get the third point. You notice all these 3 points are on the same lines. You don't need these 3 points, you need only 2 points. Sometimes one of them is better than the other one. Okay, so this is this problem. A very similar one. Write an equation in the slope-intercept form for the line with a slope of -3 and the y-intercept of 2. I said b is the y-intercept. Again, I think it's useful to remember the meaning in the coordinate grid. It's the point 0 and 2. So again, I'm going to write the slope-intercept form, and in this form I'm going to replace m with -3 and b with 2, and that's it. Now let's go and graph this equation, and I'm going to go first to this y-intercept 0 and 2, which is right here. And now I'm going to use this slope of -3. I will suggest you to rewrite this one as a fraction, and you have two choices. This one, -3 over 1, or 3 over -1. And remember, the meaning here is rise over run. And if you take a look to the first one here, that means I'm going to have to go 3 up, which I cannot do it in my picture, and then 1 left. So I'm going to use the second one, this one, which tells me you have to go 3 down and 1 right. This is the second point, and now I have the graph of this equation. I don't need a third point. And that's it. One more time, remember, whenever you have an integer like this one, you may want to rewrite in a fraction form so you can see the rise and run, and then you can use it for graphing. Some equations are not written in the slope-intercept form, like this example you see here, 2x plus 3y equals 6. What you want to do here, you want to solve for y, how it's called. So I'm going to take this 2x plus 3y and I'm going to want to solve for y. For that reason, that means I have to get rid first of the 2x. So I'm going to subtract 2x. I have to do the same thing on the other side of this equality, of this equation, to keep the balance. And I have here 3y equals, I will suggest you to start with the x term always, even though it's a negative term, like in this case, negative 2x plus 6. And the last step for solving for y is to divide by 3 in order to get rid of these 3. So I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. And I have now here y equals negative 2x plus 6 over 3. What you can do here is to break this fraction into pieces like this. Y equals negative 2x over 3 plus 6 over 3. And if you can simplify, please do it. In this case we can. First of all, you notice I'm going to rewrite as negative 2 over 3x. And I can simplify 6 divided by 3, that is 2. So now I can graph it. I also can identify, in fact, that's the first thing I'm going to do, the slope and the y-intercept. So again, I'm going to write here y equals mx plus b. Remember, the m is the number that goes next to the x, so in this case is negative 2/3. And the b is the number that has no x. In this case is 2. So we have these two elements. We can use them and graph what we need here, this 2x plus 3y equals 6. And for that reason, I'm going to go to this y-intercept of 2, which means 0 and 2, this guy. And then remember, this is the rise over run. And again, you have choices. You can go 2 down and 3 right, which I'm going to do it, or you can go 2 up and 3 left. So 2 down because you have negative 2, and 3 right because you have positive 3. And that's it. This is the graph of 2x plus 3y equal 6. A very similar example, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to solve for y. I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. I'm going to have negative 3y equals, again, start with the x term, negative 2x plus 6, and you have to divide by negative 3. So that's the reason I picked this example. I want you to see how we divide by this negative number. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to break this quotient, this fraction, in 2 pieces. And let's see what we get. Negative 2 over negative 3. The negative cancel out, so we have only 2 over 3x. And here 6 divided by negative 3, that is negative 2. And of this plus will be minus 2. So now Again, I'm going to write the slope-intercept form, and I'm going to identify the m. The m is the number that goes next to the x, 2/3 in this case, and the b is the number that has no x. Be careful, in this case is -2, right? Or you may want to write as an order pair 0 and -2. And now I can graph it. The first point I'm going to do is the y-intercept, 0, -2. And then I'm going to use the slope, 2/3. The rise is 2. The run is 3. And I do have now the graph of this equation. The last part of this lesson is going backwards. What do I mean by that? Sometimes you're going to have a graph given to you and you are going to be asked to write the equation. In other words, identify the equation that goes with this graph. So first thing you want to do in this example is to, on any other like this, identify this point, the y-intercept, right? This point is 0 and 2. And in fact, what I'm going to need is just that 2, because that will be my b from y equals mx plus b, right? And now I need to get the slope. And you have to look on this line and find another point that you can use it for finding the slope. Then there are multiple points. If you notice, this is a good one. This is another one that is good. This one is another one. So sometimes you have multiple choices. I'm going to go with this one, the y-intercept, and the next one, which is this one. You notice I draw what I called in another lesson the slope triangle, and I'm going to count. And if you notice, this is 1 unit, and this is 2 units. So that is rise over run. If you remember, the slope is rise over run. And the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to write this rise. This is 1. We counted. And the run is 2. And you notice I have some empty space up front. Why? Because you want to also be sure you identify the sign of this slope. This line goes down from left to right. So that means the slope is negative. So we have to put a minus. So now we have the slope of this line. We have the y-intercept. We can write the equation of this line. So we can have y equals m is -1/2. Don't forget to put the x, and the b is 2. And that's it. If you enjoy this lesson, don't forget to click the like button and come back on C-Square for more help. Thank you.